It has gone on for several decades. Now it's been settled in the Supreme Court. Why is it that it has opened up the wounds yet again? That's the question being asked. Rajalakshmi Joshi, political analyst, and Lokesh Jindal of the Congress Party joining us on the broadcast. So Lokesh Jindal, is the Congress Party questioning the Supreme Court's verdict? Because we had reactions coming in from Congress leaders who said that the BBC documentary is well researched, so people should look at it. Does that mean that the Supreme Court verdict that has already been given, that's not well researched, that's not researched enough?
See, what has happened is chickens have come home to roost. Something that the Prime Minister had done in the past, he's facing the consequences. He has tried hard so as to have this particular matter buried, to escape his guilt conscience, to escape the clutches of law. But then, it's not inescapable. The entire world knows what has happened. It was the responsibility of the state administration to protect the lives of innocent citizens in Gujarat. But rather than protecting it, violence was promoted so as to achieve a political end
what the Supreme Court has said?
Upcoming political elections. See, when I'm talking about the manner in which our judicial institutions function, they are in the form of procedures, they have certain standards. It's not that the Supreme Court is infallible, even it had overturned its past rulings. We have seen. In fact, a very high Supreme Court judge ruling was overturned by his son, who is now the Chief Justice of India. So when you're talking about Supreme Court, it's not infallible. There are certain judgments which it has revised. It has taken due cognizance of new facts that have come into light, new forms of theories that have built up. So yes, Supreme Court.
Okay, so you don't have faith in the Supreme Court that has given its verdict in the case. You don't have faith in the people of the country who have voted this government consecutively 2 times. You have faith in a BBC docu-series, the details of which have not come out yet. Rajalakshmi, how do you respond to that? Is that the official stand of the Congress Party, that we don't have faith? The Supreme Court is not infallible. Their verdict could be flawed.
Very good evening. I'm really shocked that my good friend, Mr. Lokesh Jindal, he is actually casting aspersions on the wisdom of the Honorable Supreme Court and the SIT that was put in by the Supreme Court. And he's actually saying on national television that the BBC perhaps is, he's saying that the BBC is more accurate and more dependable, more reliable than the verdict of the Supreme Court. That is absolutely shocking. There are a lot of things that I found very objectionable in this documentary. I don't know if, my friend Mr. Lokesh Jindal has watched this documentary or not. The Supreme Court has found a lot of problems in the Govt incident also, and there are a lot of people who are actually serving sentences who have been found guilty. And this documentary actually says at around 9 minutes that there were some 59 deaths, and the blame was put on some Muslim, and there is no verification of the same. This is actually what the documentary says. So they have completely dissed out everything that the Supreme Court has said. The people who have been found guilty by the Supreme Court, the documentary says that, okay, we cannot say if it is true or not. And the persons who have been found not guilty by the Supreme Court, the documentary actually puts the entire blame on them, saying that this entire thing was completely the responsibility of the Prime Minister, today's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. That is completely shocking. It is quite clearly a hit job.
In fact, you're calling it a hit job, and it's not just this docu-series. There was a Yahoo article as well. Lokesh, I'll just come to you. Yahoo News article as well that said the violence erupted after a train carrying Hindu pilgrims caught fire. Responding to it, Mr. Kanchan Gupta also saying it didn't just catch fire. So don't you think it's being written with a prism of bias? Does it really look like, an attempt is being made to uncover the truth? Lokesh Jindal?
See, when you are talking about the 2002 incident, there have been a lot of commissions that have been formed, and they have come out with, I would say, divergent views. One of the theory has been that it was via some form of an accident, an internal accident within the train that led to fire, and subsequently VHP activists and Bajrang Dal activists, they came out on the streets and they burned the entire city down. Selectively, Muslims were being targeted. In fact, one of the Muslim parliamentarian whose wife went on to file an appeal for revising the SIT report, he was also burned to death. So Gujarat pogrom happened, and it happened during the chief ministership of Narendra Modi, and the entire world knew that in the November there were upcoming elections. And he had just been made the chief minister 4 months ago. That was in October 2001. So now when I'm talking about this entire incident, we do not have a theory that he's completely innocent. He has nothing to do with the violence. He can come out clean with it. Absolutely not.
So, very interesting that you mentioned the elections. Rajalakshmi, very quickly, I want to hear from you. When you talk of elections, the timing of this docuseries, the timing of the articles that are coming out over an issue that has been settled already. The BJP has been saying that there is an ecosystem that seems to have descended in bringing up the issue yet again.
Absolutely, absolutely. This particular incident that Mr. Lokesh Jindal is mentioning, he's talking about Mr. Jaffrey, who has supposedly made some phone calls. As per the Supreme Court's finding, as per the SIT's investigation, there were no such records of such phone calls. So on what basis are they saying that these phone calls were made? And this is like
so Mr. Jaffrey
this was the SIT that was appointed by the Supreme